For centuries, the Han Dynasty remained one of the most powerful and advanced civilizations of the ancient world. Yet beneath its grand palaces, vast armies, and intricate bureaucracy lay secrets, innovations, and mysteries that few truly understand. Some of their discoveries were so advanced that they reshaped history, while others were deliberately hidden, punishable by death if revealed. The empire's reach extended far beyond its borders, leaving behind traces of influence in places few would expect. But what if history, as we know it, is only part of the story? What if ancient China had already achieved breakthroughs we often credit to much later civilizations? From unseen military strategies to forgotten technologies and even connections to lands thought unreachable. The Han Dynasty's history is filled with unexpected twists and astonishing revelations. Prepare to uncover 15 fascinating facts that will challenge everything you thought you knew about this legendary empire. The Han Dynasty witnessed an incredible leap in engineering with the creation of life-sized mechanical puppets. These intricate devices, powered by hidden gears and pulleys, were designed to mimic human movements. One of the most famous examples was a wooden servant that could pour wine, astonishing guests at royal banquets. These early automata demonstrate how Han engineers were exploring complex mechanical principles centuries before similar advancements in the West. The puppets were more than just entertainment. They were status symbols, showing off their owners' wealth and technical expertise. Some historical texts describe automata that could walk, gesture, and even perform small tasks. These creations weren't mere toys. They were part of a broader Han fascination with engineering, which also led to innovations in water clocks, gear-driven mechanisms, and tools that enhanced agriculture and manufacturing. The dynasty's technological curiosity set the foundation for later mechanical inventions. The Han military developed one of history's earliest forms of chemical warfare. During battles against enemies like the Xiongnu, they used arsenic-based smoke bombs to poison enemy troops. These weapons, designed to release toxic fumes when ignited, were recorded in military texts and were among the first known examples of chemical weapons in combat. This demonstrates a surprisingly advanced understanding of toxic substances in warfare, long before similar tactics appeared elsewhere. These weapons weren't just random experiments. The Han actively tested different chemical reactions for maximum battlefield impact. Historical accounts describe these poisonous smokes being used to force enemies out of fortified positions, making them vulnerable to attack. The development of such weapons shows that the Han military was not just innovative with physical weaponry like crossbows, but also strategically experimenting with chemical science to gain the upper hand in warfare. In 132 AD, the Han Dynasty invented the world's first earthquake detector, centuries before any similar device appeared elsewhere. Designed by scientist Zhang Heng, this bronze mechanism featured dragon heads facing different directions. When an earthquake occurred, the device would detect seismic waves and drop a ball from a dragon's mouth into the corresponding toad's mouth below, indicating the direction of the tremor. This early seismograph was so accurate that it reportedly detected earthquakes hundreds of miles away, even before they were felt locally. Han officials used the device to respond to disasters quickly, sending aid to affected areas based on the seismograph's readings. The ability to predict and record earthquakes with such a sophisticated mechanism shows the advanced understanding of natural forces that Han scientists possessed. This invention laid the groundwork for later developments in geophysics and earthquake monitoring. One of the greatest military threats to the Han Dynasty came not from an emperor or general, but from a female warlord leading nomadic armies. Queen Fu Hao, a commander of the Xiongnu, led devastating raids against Han-controlled territories, proving to be a relentless adversary. Unlike other rulers who relied on diplomatic negotiations, she built an army known for its brutality and speed, using skilled cavalry tactics to outmaneuver Han forces. Her ability to organize large-scale attacks forced the Han to construct massive border defenses. The empire had to divert resources and troops to counter her movements, showing the extent of her impact. Unlike many warrior queens in history, Fu Hao wasn't just a symbolic leader. She personally led troops into battle. The Han spent years trying to suppress her forces, proving that even an empire as powerful as theirs was not immune to the strength of determined enemies. In 1973, archaeologists uncovered a silk map from 168 BC inside a Han tomb, one of the oldest surviving topographical maps in history. Unlike earlier maps, which were often crude and symbolic, this one depicted mountains, rivers, and roads with remarkable accuracy. It showed that Han cartographers understood terrain features and scale, proving their knowledge of geography was centuries ahead of many other civilizations. This map wasn't just for decoration, it was likely used for military campaigns or governance, helping officials navigate vast territories. Its level of detail suggests that Han rulers valued strategic planning and precise record-keeping. The discovery of this map changed historians' understanding of ancient Chinese cartography, showing that the Han Dynasty had already developed sophisticated mapping techniques long before similar efforts were made in medieval Europe or the Middle East. Silk was the most valuable trade good in Han China, but its production method was a tightly guarded state secret. The knowledge of how to cultivate silkworms and extract their fine threads was restricted to a small group of artisans, and leaking this information was punishable by death. This extreme measure was enforced to protect China's monopoly on silk, which was in high demand across Asia and beyond. Despite attempts by foreign powers to uncover the secret, China successfully controlled silk production for centuries. Some desperate individuals tried to smuggle silkworms or eggs out of China, but the punishment was severe. Officials carefully monitored silk-producing regions, ensuring the secret remained within the empire. This strict protection strategy allowed China to dominate the silk trade for over 1,000 years. Eventually, knowledge of silk production spread, but by then, the Han had already established themselves as the sole supplier of this precious material. There is evidence suggesting that Han China may have had direct or indirect contact with the Roman Empire, though no formal diplomatic exchanges were recorded. Chinese historical texts describe envoys traveling westward, possibly reaching regions under Roman control. Some sources mention a mysterious people called Da Qin, believed to be the Romans, who were known for their advanced technology and structured cities. However, no official meeting between Han and Roman rulers has been confirmed. Roman historians also wrote about a land rich in silk, which they called Serica, though they lacked details about its rulers. Some speculate that Roman merchants may have traveled partway along the Silk Road, trading goods with intermediaries who then carried them to China. While physical proof of a Han-Roman encounter is scarce, the idea that two of the most powerful ancient civilizations may have been aware of each other remains a fascinating historical mystery. While most people know about the Qin dynasty's massive terracotta army, fewer are aware that the Han dynasty had its own buried military forces. Emperor Jing of Han, 188 to 141 BC, was entombed with thousands of small, armless terracotta warriors, reflecting his belief that he would need an army in the afterlife. These figures were much smaller than those of the Qin, measuring around 2 feet tall, but they were crafted with remarkable detail. Unlike Qin Shi Huang's army, which was designed for battle, Emperor Jing's figures appeared less aggressive, emphasizing peace over war. The tomb also contained miniature livestock, tools, and even servants, meant to provide a comfortable existence after death. This burial tradition demonstrates how deeply the Han believed in an afterlife where status and power still mattered. These underground armies, though lesser known, offer a glimpse into the spiritual and political mindset of the Han elite. Crime in Han China was met with severe punishments, including the use of permanent facial tattoos to mark criminals. Known as Mo, these tattoos were engraved onto convicts' faces using needles and ink, ensuring they were visibly branded for life. Unlike imprisonment, which required costly resources, this method provided an instant, irreversible mark of shame. Criminals with tattoos were easily identified and often found it impossible to reintegrate into society. The Han legal code was strict, and facial tattooing was reserved for serious offenses like theft, desertion, or rebellion. This practice served as both a punishment and a warning, deterring others from committing crimes. Though later dynasties moved away from tattooing criminals, it remained an early form of state-controlled social punishment. The idea of marking criminals as a lifelong sentence rather than jailing them highlights how differently ancient justice systems operated. In 2 AD, Han China conducted what was likely the largest population census in ancient history, counting nearly 60 million people. This number was staggering for the time and exceeded the population of the Roman Empire. The census was not just for record-keeping. It allowed the government to adjust taxation, military drafts, and food distribution based on population density. The level of administrative organization required for this was unprecedented. To gather this data, officials traveled across vast territories, collecting detailed records on households, land ownership, and economic productivity. The results shaped government policies, proving the Han had an efficient bureaucratic system centuries ahead of its time. This large-scale data collection was so precise that later dynasties continued the practice. The fact that such an extensive operation was carried out without modern technology highlights how advanced the Han administrative structure truly was. Han Dynasty doctors practiced advanced medical techniques centuries before similar methods appeared elsewhere. They used acupuncture to treat pain and illness, a practice still widely used today. Surgeons also experimented with primitive forms of anesthesia, using herbal mixtures to numb patients before procedures. Some historical records even suggest that Han physicians understood the importance of sterilization, using wine or hot water to clean wounds. Beyond physical treatments, Han medicine emphasized a balance of bodily energies, a concept still central to traditional Chinese medicine. Doctors recorded their findings in detailed medical texts, some of which influenced healthcare for centuries. One such work, the Huangdi Neijing, compiled during the Han era, described illnesses, treatments, and surgical procedures with remarkable precision. The Han Dynasty's medical innovations paved the way for future advancements, influencing practices in China and beyond. Before the Han Dynasty, writing surfaces were expensive and impractical. Bamboo strips were heavy, silk was costly, and carving onto bones or bronze was slow. Around 105 AD, A Han court official named Kai Lun revolutionized communication by inventing a lightweight, cheap alternative, paper. Early paper was made from tree bark, hemp, rags, and old fishing nets, mashed into pulp and dried into thin sheets. This breakthrough made writing more accessible and transformed record-keeping. The spread of paper allowed for the mass recording of knowledge, accelerating advancements in government, science, and literature. Bureaucrats could now keep detailed records more efficiently, and scholars had an easier way to write down texts. Over time, paper production techniques improved, eventually spreading beyond China. While later civilizations would develop their own versions, it was the Han Dynasty that laid the foundation for one of the most important inventions in human history. Emperor Wang Mang, who briefly overthrew the Han Dynasty, is infamous for his radical and often bizarre reforms. Among his most confusing decisions was his attempt to change the traditional Chinese calendar, disrupting the way people tracked time. His new system abolished the existing dating system, creating widespread confusion among officials and citizens alike. Since festivals, farming schedules, and tax collection were all based on the calendar, this reform caused chaos. Wang Mang's obsession with reform didn't stop there. He introduced entirely new coinage, outlawed private land ownership, and attempted a redistribution of wealth. While some of his policies were well-intentioned, they were so poorly implemented that they collapsed the economy and turned nearly everyone against him. Eventually, Wang Mang was overthrown, and his radical changes were reversed. His reign remains one of the most controversial experiments in Chinese history, proving that not all reformers succeed. Although Han China was a patriarchal society, it still produced highly influential female scholars, a rarity for the time. The most famous was Ban Zhao, a historian and writer who completed her brother's monumental work, the Book of Han, one of China's most important historical texts. She also wrote Lessons for Women, a widely studied guide on female education and moral conduct, emphasizing that women should be both educated and virtuous. While Ban Zhao's work reinforced traditional gender roles, it also encouraged women to pursue knowledge and literacy, something that was largely discouraged in other ancient societies. Her influence reached the imperial court, where she taught empresses and noblewomen. Her writings remained influential for centuries, shaping Confucian views on women's roles. The presence of female scholars in Han China, even in limited numbers, proves that intellectual contributions were not entirely restricted to men. The Han Dynasty created the world's first known civil service examination system, revolutionizing how governments selected officials. Instead of relying solely on noble birth, the Han required candidates to pass rigorous exams, testing their knowledge of Confucian philosophy, law, and governance. This merit-based system ensured that only the most capable individuals could serve in the government, laying the foundation for bureaucratic institutions that lasted for over a millennium. Passing the exam was no small feat. It required years of study, and many applicants failed multiple times before succeeding. Those who passed earned prestigious positions with high salaries and significant influence. The civil service system was later adopted by other dynasties and even influenced governance models in countries like Korea and Japan. The Han Dynasty's commitment to meritocracy transformed administration, proving that competence rather than lineage was key to effective governance. Thank you for watching. Do you know any other fascinating facts about Han China? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss more incredible facts and untold history.